Good morning, everybody. It is 8:30 a.m. here in LA. Victoria is very confused as to why we're sitting in front of the camera this early in the morning and why she hasn't gone for her WNLK. It's raining and gray with gale force wind warnings in effect. Also, flash flood warnings are in effect right now. So we're just sitting here doing this. So some folks sent me this video that I think was posted about a week ago. A professional colleague of mine made it in response to an email that he had received from a gentleman asking him why there aren't more women in the industry. And I took a moment and watched the video in its entirety. It was very well done and very well said, and I hold this individual in quite high esteem, but it did get me thinking. And so yesterday, I sat in front of the camera right here wearing the same sweater, making a video offering my own thoughts, because what I realized as I was watching his video was that it was a man asking the question and it was a man answering the question, albeit he was the one that the email was addressed to, but nowhere in this dialogue did either of them ask a woman. So enter Emiko. So I shot this whole video, hours and hours and hours of shooting and editing, and I finally got it to the place where I thought, great, I'm really excited about this, I'm gonna put it out tomorrow. And then I woke up at about 4 a.m. this morning, lying awake in bed, listening to the rain coming down, and all of these questions started to enter my mind. And I thought, the video is incomplete. So when it was finally time to wake up and there was enough light outside where I could start shooting, I got myself a cup of coffee, threw on the same clothes I had yesterday, came downstairs, and this, what you're watching now, is either a take two or it's going to be integrated into the body of the other video. I'm not sure yet. This is all done on the fly. So the question was asked why there aren't more women in the industry and why there aren't more women in audio in the community as a whole. So the first thing I'd like to do is take this opportunity and actually reframe the question, because we're living at the end of 2021, right? Going into 2022 in a couple of weeks. And women aren't the only people that are in audio. There are transgender, non-binary, gender fluid, non-identifying people that love music, that are bona fide audiophiles and hi-fi enthusiasts, or some that are actually circling the hobby and this space and are eager to get into it. So I'd like to reframe the question, and rather than ask why there aren't more women in the industry, I'd like to ask why this industry has been historically male-dominated so tightly for so long. So once the question got reframed, all of these other questions and scenarios started popping into my head. The airline industry, the automotive industry, higher education, technology, science, the medical fields. I could go on and on, even in my own native industry, which is the music industry, the pro audio and music creation side of things. And once I started looking at all of those different industries and I paired that together with the conversations that I see in trade publications, on audiophile postboards, and in forums, I realized that our conversation as an industry and a community desperately needs to be updated. Here's what I mean by that. We are still in a place where, by and large, and I will preface by saying this, I know it's gonna sound like, to some of you, that I'm coming after the men. That's not what's happening. I am simply bringing to light conversations and dialogues that have been had in hopes of changing the narrative. So here we go. I've personally been engaged in dialogue and have had experiences where men have told the room, myself included, that, well, women are brand agnostic. They don't really care about who makes the components. All they care about is if the music moves them and gives them a vibe. I don't know that I agree with that, because if that was the case, then the fashion industry, the jewelry industry, car industry, the health and wellness industry, organic foods, all of these industries would collapse. The fact of the matter is we are not brand agnostic. We are very brand specific people. Number two, then the dialogues would continue in separate spaces, and inevitably people would say, well, women just aren't as technical as men are. Women are much more feeling, and it always comes back to this great divide that women are much more feeling than men. Well, that's that's not true either, because if that was the case, women wouldn't be flying planes. They certainly wouldn't be involved in the most cutting-edge technological advances. They wouldn't be racing cars. There's a whole host of other things that women would not be doing. So I feel like that dialogue is continuing on quite baseless ceremony. I do happen to know also from experience and working in the industry that there's a huge gap in our outreach. The way that we connect with people that are not men, the way that we connect with new consumers and new clients, it's very insular. We haven't gotten to a place where we're reaching mass population and major markets. We also haven't gotten to the place yet where the industry at large has built the bridge between the importance of hi-fi and music education. These are all things that need to be brought to the forefront of the conversation immediately. Post haste, I cannot stress the importance of this enough. So when the question is asked, why aren't there more women in the industry? We'll just take that question, not reframing it. I would say there are a number of reasons for this. The first reason, not necessarily in the order of importance, just what's popping into my brain at 8:30 in the morning. The first of which is that it's not marketed holistically. This industry is very marketed toward men because you'll see things like blatantly sexually objectified women who are accessories to audio components. You will hear and see the dialogues that I just talked about. Occasionally you'll have that one troll talk about how women categorically and historically make less and so they can't afford hi-fi. Also, again, may have been true years ago, not really true now. So I find all of this to be really interesting, and the purpose of this video is to encourage this dialogue very seriously. A lot of you know me from my various positions in the industry, and also as brand ambassador and as a hi-fi advocate and evangelist. That is another reason why it's, I think, been a typically male-dominated community, because all of the brand advocates and all of the industry advocates, the audio advocates, have been men. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. If you love audio and you're out espousing your love of audio to your friends and you're a guy, chances are most of your friends are going to be dudes. So, of course, more dudes are going to come into the hobby. I get it. That's not a problem. What is a problem is when the door actively gets shut on other voices and other people advocating. Just because somebody is taking space to plant their own flag and say, hey, I love audio and this is my experience with it and here's my system and this is what I love. It's not knocking somebody else off of a pedestal. It's not a competition. Because the journey of audio is a deeply personal one and it's also really subjective. All of our ears are completely different. I've said this before. Your ears and your hearing are like fingerprints, which are in turn like snowflakes. There are no two that are identical in the entire world. Kind of like Victoria. Right, mama? So it's really important that the conversation get updated, because it's important that we have all different kinds of audio advocates in the industry. Isn't the purpose of hi-fi to make music come alive? And isn't music for everybody? If music is for everybody, then hi-fi is for everybody. So we shouldn't be limiting ourselves as an industry. We should really be working together to push this dialogue forward into uncomfortable, uncharted spaces, because our job is really in a service-based industry. We want to bring the music to you all. And if we're doing that, we need to listen to everybody so that they can in turn listen to the music. So that's all I wanted to say. I hope that you'll take part in this dialogue with me by leaving a comment wherever you're watching this. Reach out to me on social media. I have my accounts linked below in whatever caption you're seeing this on. Make sure to like this video, share it with some friends, get their thoughts on it too. I think the more we can get all of us collectively talking about this, the better things are gonna be. Because at the end of the day, audio is really special. And we should have the opportunity to not just survive, but thrive. And pass this on to the next generation and the next and the next and the next. That is one surefire way that the music can live on, and in turn, our message can live on too. So, I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go have a second cup of coffee now. Bye!